but I'm going to pavement it as much as possible. Well, I wasn't expecting this. Within a mile of leaving my campsite, bivvy site, I'm sat outside having a breakfast, actually on the Fosseway itself. About a mile on from breakfast, I'm on my quiet bit of road, the bit that cuts out that busy A37. There was a slight drag up from breakfast. A lot of it was on pavement, and then as I did yesterday, every time on the hills I sensed there was a queue of traffic behind me, I just pulled in and let them go. There was even a couple of guys out on their driveway, I think they were farmers, just sort of said, just over the summit mate, and then it's nice and clear for you, nice and flat, so that was really nice. I've been getting all the beeps again today, friendly waves and gestures. Sat having my breakfast dressed like this, which is quite interesting. The girls in the cafe wanted to know what I was up to, that was quite nice explaining. As was the girl, I went into the shop and got a few bars of chocolate for later on, she was interested. So this is the bit I researched recently. This should take me up to the back of Canard's grave. I'll come back out on that busy A37, but I can pavement it for about 200-300 yards before I pull in right as the cut through by the bus stop I did recently. So I've just emerged to the right of the Well Inn. I've literally crossed the road here. You can see how busy it is coming in Shepton Mallet. I'm going to ride along here about 200 yards, then I turn off right, which cuts a junction off, and then I can ride down. It's called Foss Lane, although it's a very, very busy road. I can ride down the pavement there to a junction, cut across the A361, very busy road, through Charter Estate, and then the first bit of rough stuff. There's the Shepton Mallet boundary sign there. Wow, less than 19 miles to go to Bath, although that does involve a lot of rough stuff, and I'm crossing the Mendips. 200 yards along from the pub, as the road bends round, there's a bus stop, and there's just this cut through. This is the old Fosseway. All it does is cuts a busy junction off. This is the end of that short stretch of off-road, and this is the main road I'm now going to ride down on the pavement, Foss Lane. Not much of a lane, more of a very busy A road. I've now left the very busy Foss Lane at that junction where I took a picture of myself, and then I've just crossed the main road coming down here by this waterfall, and then the road goes up there, and then it turns into a gravel track as I start my climb over the Mendips. The first section after the tarmac ends is a fairly defined gravel track because there's this gas substation here, and then it becomes rutted track. I got up about a third of that last time, but you know, Land Rovers come up and down there, foreign vehicles, so it is rideable. You get some really good views of Charlton Viaduct across here. It's the masterpiece of the Somerset and Dorset Railway, 27 arches on a curve. Let's get my breath back and take a run up this section of gravel and see how far I can get up this time. It was hard enough last time in normal cycling gear. I'm approaching the summit of this leg. I have to say, this time from the gas station I got about 100 yards before I just stalled and had to get off. The thing with this outfit is, especially the hat, you start sweating straight away. You can feel the perspiration building up on your forehead, glasses steaming up, and also the cloak itself, even with just one base layer on underneath, it just gets so hot. One of the things I really wanted to do with this trip is just get a feel for what it was like a journey. I just know from visiting historical sites in the past, like the Normandy beaches, you can read as much as you want about it or see all the films and the footage, but it's not until you go there you actually get a feel for it, your mind's eye. And this is a spot I think Yes, Shepton Mallet wouldn't have been there, or not to that extent, but you know, Romans travelling Fosseway would have got a view very similar to this. You can see Glastonbury Tor straight in front of us. Again, I don't think the church tower would have been up there, but the Tor certainly would have been. I'll try and zoom in on the Tor. That's it, right in the centre of the screen now. I wonder how many Romans on the Fosseway would have stopped here, looked at that view, even spent the night here possibly, or a few hours just resting. Again, riding the Fosseway on a push bike, I'm just blown away by just how steep the hills are. My bike, even with the triple chain set, is struggling to get up it, struggling to stop going down it as well. How on earth horse and cart has managed that? It's beyond me, it really is. And it's not until you ride it, as I said, you can read about it in history books, but it's not until you ride it you just get a feel for just what an amazing feat of engineering this really was. I've just emerged from this bit of rough stuff where I came through the grounds of Charlton Court, and it brings you out on this minor road. I'm just going to go along here a little bit and then turn left, and that's what takes you up to, I think it's called Barnet Woods or something Woods. I'm told there was amazing bluebell displays up there in the spring. I've probably missed them. I came down through there in the winter on one of my recce's actually. I'm so glad I researched all this. I did wonder if it'd spoil some of the enjoyment, but I got to say last night, those two little deviations I did, even though I'd screen grabbed the maps and the details, it was quite tricky to work out on the road because I had to keep stopping the Garmin and then keep referring to the photographs. So I'm so glad I did these recce's. Really looking forward to this next bit up the top, and then that's the summit, and then drop down through Oak Hill, Stratton on the Foss, Midsummer Norton, back to Bath. That's the way I've just come. I joined that minor road along there, took a left hand turn up here, so you can see the course to the Fosseway would have come through here, and now it's heading up here. This was completely unrideable when I came down it in the opposite direction back in the winter, just because it was so muddy. A walker at the time told me it's normally rideable, so it certainly looks like it today, so let's give it a go. I'm just entering the wooded section, but I remember as I rode down here back in the winter, keep coming across what looks like Roman mileposts in far too good a condition to be 2,000 years old, but it's a nice touch. I can just see the end of the bluebells. I imagine this was spectacular a few weeks back in the spring. My friend said it's one of his favourite places to bring the dog because it's like a carpet of blue down here. I missed it in the winter and I've missed it now. I think this is definitely going to be a place I'm going to come back to in bluebell season. Just gathering my strength actually there. I'm probably going to have to push up here. I rode down it in the winter, but I can't see me getting up there. Onwards and upwards, as they say. There are footpaths in the woods. Looks like it's taking the easier contour up. Even though I'm not cycling, I'm trying to stay as authentic to the Fosseway as possible. I don't know if this comes out on camera, but that's just like a sheer wall of mud there. And yeah, okay, I'm sure it's changed over the years, but just to think a road went straight up here, just mind-boggling, it really is. I think this is the course to the Fosseway. Again, another one of those what looks like a Roman milestone. I'm pretty sure they've been there to mark the course of the original road. Gosh, I had a job walking up that, especially pushing the bike. I think I'm just about near the summit now. It might be rideable. To put this in context, the A37 is running up, I guess, about 3/4 of a mile over there. We're avoiding it altogether. I've just emerged along there. There's a little car park there where walkers and dog walkers normally park. There's a guy there under a gazebo from the Woodland Trust, quite interested in what I was doing. Wanted a photograph of me and him, that was nice. I guess the original Fosseway would have come across here and now we're going down there towards Oak Hill. The first part of the descent comes down through some woods, and then it does this little S-bend here just as it opens up, and then it'll go down there towards Oak Hill. But directly in front of me is Stratton-on-the-Foss. I can see the church tower, so you can get a real good line of sight. That's where we're heading. I meant to add, as I was coming up the steep section, the bit that I had to initially walk out of Shepton Mallet, and then as it levelled off I started riding up, I was struggling and sweating, and a young mountain biker was going the other way. In fact, he pulled over to give way, but he just looked like he was out for, just out down the shops, to be honest, making very light work of it. I'm down the bottom of that track now. I've got to say, it was very, very steep and twisty and bumpy, and I know the limitations of my equipment and my experience and my ability. I walked most of that. I've just ridden this last little section. Again, a competent mountain biker would probably manage that, no problem. So we're at Fosstoll Cottage. I've given this stretch a lot of thought, so let me explain what I intend to do. This was the section that I came out on one of my recces, and I got a little bit lost. First of all, the people at the other end of this side clearly don't want you on their land, although it is officially a footpath. And I veered off track. It looked like it had been made as difficult as possible. These two ladies were following me because they thought I knew where I was going, and I came out in a farm just a few yards along there. And that farmer wasn't very pleased. He wouldn't even open the gate for me, sort of made me climb over it, didn't send me back luckily. And I felt really bad about the ladies went through the same thing as well, got told off by him. Apparently he's had a lot of abuse from walkers and dog walkers and cyclists, so I can understand. I'm going to stop the Garmin here. I'm going to follow this road round to Oak Hill. I really need to find a shop and get some water desperately. And then I'm going to restart it at the other end. So maybe a little bit of cheating, a bit like I did last night, but I want to keep the track as straight as possible. So technically you can go this way. It was just an unpleasant experience last time, so I don't want to. So I've just curved around the main road with my Garmin off, and now I'm resetting it here. As you can see, this is a perfectly legal footpath, but as I said, I was made to feel very unwelcome down here, and that would be where I've just stopped the Garmin over there, ridden round here and restarted it here, so the trace of the Fosseway over there. I've just been back on the main road for about half a mile or so, and now I'm leaving it again. So this is what I call the Nettle Bridge curves. There's a steep drop down through Nettle Bridge Valley, and the road sort of snakes around that way, but this is the original Fosseway down here. I'll put a map on the screen now, you'll get an idea. So we're going down here, then straight up the other side. Next stop, Stratton-on-Foss. Once again, I don't know if the camera would do this justice, but this is a really steep drop down over the Nettle Bridge. And then up the other side, you may see that house there. That's almost the summit, that's the track of the Fosseway up there. £11 now, and I'm in Westfield on the Fosseway, about less than 10 miles from home. I was getting really short of water and energy considering I had that big breakfast early on. So anybody who follows me knows that I quite like the Co-op. So I stopped at the Co-op. The Co-op Fosseway, that's pretty appropriate. I'm now at the other end of Westfield, literally just about half a mile on from that last Co-op, outside another Co-op, and that's the Fosseway I'm going to take down there. It was running just down that way, so I researched that back in the spring, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to have to push most of that, and it's very steep drop down, and then it actually joins the Five Arches Greenway very briefly before it then goes up over a field and then takes a track down into Radstock. This is the Fosseway. This bit's gravelled. You can see there's vehicle access round to that unit there, which I imagine that used to be an old colliery. But yeah, the Fosseway now goes straight down there. It's drier than it was when I did the recce back late winter, early spring, but it's also very much more overgrown. So my cloak and everything, my costume's snagging in a lot of vegetation. And this was narrow back in the winter, so goodness knows what it's going to be like today. I had to push up, and even that was difficult coming the other direction. There's no way I'll be able to ride down that. But hey, why bother using the contour of the hills to ease the gradient when you can just go straight down and straight up the other side? That is sheer narrow drop down there, and it brings you out here to the Five Arches Greenway just as it cuts across the Midsummer Norton to Radstock Road. Now I'm going to go up there, just taking the link from the Five Arches Greenway where it joins the old GWR railway into Radstock. You can see we are going up that way. I rode down here earlier in the year. There's no way I'm going to be able to ride up that today, but I do know once you get over the top, it's gravelling, it's actually quite rideable. It's quite flat then before it drops down. I'm now climbing up. It's worth actually showing you some of the landscape here. So the GWR railway went underneath that viaduct there, along here. As the road does, you may see the cars crossing there. And that's the Somerset and Dorset Railway, which climbed over the Mendips. That was considered quite steep. That's there. And you may just see it snaking up there towards Norton Hill, Midsummer Norton Station, as it goes over towards Binniger and Masbury. And if you can see that line of trees going up there, and the houses at the top, that's Westfield. So I came behind those houses, and there's that footpath, very steep. And now I'm heading this way through this gate. Soon after that, rocky track becomes rideable for a bit before we drop down into Clandon, and then the long climb up towards Peasdown, and then at Peasdown we'll drop down to Dunkerton before the final slog up to Bath. Come in on the Wells Road down over the Bear Flat. I'm going to finish today's ride at Holloway, stop the Garmin there, then go to my house. We're on this brief level section now where it's actually rideable, bumpy but rideable, so I'm going along here that way before I drop steeply down into Clandon. Nice little seat here at this little junction. That way would be the A367, which is the modern road climbing up now. And we're going to be joining it later on along here. I thought I'd stop at this seat and just give you a few thoughts, because trips like this, bike rides, always are quite thought-provoking. I said earlier on that you can read as many history books and see films, documentaries. It's not until you experience things yourself sometimes you really comprehend the gravity of them. I just can't get my head around how non-motorised vehicles would have traversed this way. I really can't. I'm struggling on pneumatic tyres and a triple chain set, and even when it's modern tarmac, the gradients are so severe. It's just, like I said, I just can't get my head around it really. And I think getting out there and experiencing yourself really brings that home to you, more so than any lesson or book or documentary can ever do. I've just made a steep gravelly descent, and I emerged at that gravel park there, entrance to the house. I'm now going to be heading up here, quite a steep climb, and it would rejoin the A367 at the top of the climb out of Radstock, and then we go along a flat section for a while. There's some pavements there I can ride on, and then as the main road bypasses Peasdown, I'll take the old road through Peasdown, and then before we drop down to Dunkerton, there's more rough stuff down the original Fosseway. Just finished the climb up from Clandon. I'm just about to join the modern day A367 Radstock to Bath Road. As you can tell, the Fosseway, original and the new. I've just left Peasdown St John. The modern A367 road bends round to the left to avoid it, bypasses it. The original Fosseway went straight through it, so that's where I've come. And now the road would sort of bend that way, but the Fosseway goes straight down there. That's where we're going. I researched this earlier in the year. I know this is rideable. The first section down is quite steep, gravelly, very rideable though, and then you veer off to the left and then you parallel down across this field. Okay, I came up this way back in the late winter, early spring, and I can't get over how most the grass has grown. I rode across the grass rather than the path because it was quite muddy and slippery. Now I guess that's probably up to about chest height. As usual for Roman Road, straight on, you can just about see the course of the road going down round a few cars. So I'm going to drop down to the Cam Valley, use the A367 slightly over the bridge across the Cam Brook, and then veer off to the right, and then it literally goes straight up that hill. Halfway down that field, I saw a cyclist coming towards me. He was on a specialist bike, but my gosh, again, he was just making it look so easy. Bearing in mind he was going uphill as well and I was coming down. I actually stopped to give way as he went by. So anyway, I've come out here at the bottom of Dunkerton Hill. I'm just going to join the A367. That's a bridge there crossing the Cam Brook. Where those houses are, there's a track going up behind them, and then again it's straight up. A few yards on the main road, then a right hand turn up this steep track, and as you can see, the Fosseway. Fossacre Cottage there as well. This is a real eye-opener because the old Fosseway was coming straight up. You can see we're quite a bit above the main road there. You may see the odd car going by. I guess we're the best part of 100 feet higher than it already. It's incredible. This will join that road at the summit, but I would say a third of the way up. It's already much higher in elevation. Just after I looked over and saw the Fosseway was much higher than the modern road, it actually levelled out, and for about a quarter of a mile it's tarmacked and it passes some houses and it's just cut across this minor road. That would be the Titfield Thunderbolt pub that way and Coombe Village down there. And now this is the final climb up to the top of Dunkerton Hill, rejoining the A367. Most of this second section of the climb from bottom of Dunkerton Hill up towards Bath is rideable, and then just where my fingers indicated it starts to climb steeply and is very rutted. I would say this is unrideable in both directions. I think some farm vehicles have been down there and deeply entrenched the tyre tracks. You may hear the traffic. I'm just about to join the A367 at the end of the double track. That'd be the main road. Final few metres up to the top of the summit, and then along down over the bare flat. Instead of curving round as the modern road does, I'll go straight on down Holloway, and I'm going to stop the Garmin when I get right down by the bottom of Holloway as it joins the main road heading out, the A36 it would be, heading out towards city centre, walk up the London Road. I'll be retracing and rejoining that tomorrow morning. So I've just kept the path straight. The main road bears round that way and snakes down to Bath, Wells Road. This is the Fosseway down here. I'm going to finish today's ride just at the bottom of this street. I'm at the bottom of Holloway now. The road pretty much finishes there. Footpath down here. This was the original Roman road into Bath, and then I believe what it did is it followed the river round. It's what I'm going to do tomorrow to join the London Road out towards Bath Easton and then turn left up over Foss Lane. Anyway, I'm just going to cut across the subway. Just that bus will have just passed over it. Going to cut across the subway on the other side, stop the Garmin there. Tomorrow morning I'll retrace back and continue my journey that way.